You only have 18 months left. I'm not going to spend them as a poor widow. That was the text Emily sent me at 2:37 p.m., to 3 minutes after I told her I had prostate cancer. By the end of that day, our joint account, $48,000, was emptied. The house we owned in Houston, worth $92,000, had already been used as collateral without my knowledge. I was sitting alone in the sterile hospital room, the sting of disinfectant still burning my nose. I didn't cry. I didn't plead. I just smiled faintly. My name is David Carter. I'm 38, a senior risk analyst at one of the largest insurance firms in Texas. 15 years in the industry taught me to always plan for the worst-case scenario, even when betrayal comes from the one you trusted most. The whoosh of the oxygen machine still echoed faintly in my ears. Dr. Anderson had left the room minutes earlier. His grim expression was still burned into my mind. My hand trembled as I held the phone and dialed the number I knew best in the world. Emily, I just got the results. My throat tightened. Stage 4 prostate cancer. The doctor said, I have about 18 months, 12 seconds of silence. I counted every one. Then the line disconnected like a slap across the face. Seconds later, a message appeared. I've made up my mind. Don't contact me again. I stared at the screen, stunned. My fingers fumbled to open the bank app. Available balance, 62 cents. My heart stopped. I called 7 times. No answer. With my last dollar, I took a cab home. The front door was locked from the inside. No lights, no sound. She was gone. The leather couch we bought for our 5th anniversary, gone. The brand new Samsung fridge, gone. Even the rare orchids Emily tended to so carefully, gone. I walked through each room, heart pounding. The bedroom was stripped bare, except for the old wooden bed and a pile of worn-out clothes. The living room had only my aging Dell laptop on the floor and a small envelope propped against it. I picked it up, Emily's handwriting, sharp and elegant. You'll understand why I had to do this. I refused to live in poverty and take care of a dying man. Don't try to find me. Each word cut like a knife. I sank to the floor, hands trembling. This was the woman I'd loved, protected, and sacrificed everything for over the past 5 years. Mrs. Jenkins, our neighbor, poked her head out the window, concern in her eyes. David, where's Emily? She left early this morning with a moving truck. I thought you two were heading out together. I asked, my voice dry. Did she say anything? She just said she got a job out of state and cried a lot. But I knew better. Emily didn't cry out of sadness. She cried out of frustration. Her carefully crafted plan had just hit a roadblock. If I hadn't gotten sick, she would have kept draining my assets for years. Mr. Harrison, from across the street, walked over, face serious. David, I saw some strangers going into your house last night. What's going on? I told him everything. He shook his head. I've had a weird feeling about Emily for a while now, but I figured it wasn't my place. What kind of feeling? The way she talked about money, always asking about property values, investments. Not like a typical wife. I realized how blind I had been. The signs were always there, but I ignored them because I loved her. And now, sitting in this empty house, I finally saw the truth for what it was. We met at a financial seminar in Dallas back in 2018. Emily was a sharp, ambitious banker, asking the kind of questions only someone with deep curiosity and a spreadsheet for a brain would ask. I just want stability, she told me on our first date. A life where I don't have to worry about money. At the time, I thought that was a reasonable dream. I didn't realize her definition of stability meant someone else footing the bill for her perfect life. After 8 months of dating, I proposed with a 1-carat diamond ring that had taken me 6 months of savings to buy. We had a modest wedding at a cozy Italian restaurant just outside Austin. Nothing lavish, but full of joy. I remember what my dad told me during the reception. He pulled me aside, looked me in the eye. She seems sweet, David, he said, but there's something calculating about her. She asked a lot about your assets, your inheritance, even the legal documents behind a house. She's just detail-oriented. Dad, I laughed, she's a banker. For the first 2 years, Emily was the picture-perfect wife. She cooked, cleaned, cheered me on. We bought a home together on Montrose Boulevard, in Houston, for $92,000. I deposited $320 a month into our joint account. She added $200 from her own paycheck. You're so careful, she used to say, watching me log every expense in a budgeting spreadsheet. But I like that. It makes me feel safe. Now I realize, What she really liked was knowing exactly how much she could take. Looking back, there were 3 warning signs I should never have ignored. The first came 3 months ago. Emily suddenly took an intense interest in my life insurance policies. She encouraged me to raise my policy from $40,000 to $120,000. "You work in risk management," she said. "If something ever happened to you, I want to make sure I could support our family." I thought it was sweet, loving even. I signed the papers. The second came 6 weeks ago. She asked me to sign a financial power of attorney document. "In case you ever travel or get sick," she said. "I just want to be able to help." Her voice was calm, reassuring. I didn't think twice. I signed. Little did I know, that signature gave her the legal right to mortgage our home without my consent. The third sign came just 2 weeks ago. Emily started asking detailed questions about life insurance payouts. How long does it take to receive the money? Is the process complicated? What documents are needed? When I asked why she was so curious, she laughed it off. "Your job is fascinating. Who knows, maybe I'll get into insurance too." But I see now, she wasn't curious. She was planning. All 3 signs pointed to the same thing: money and my death. But I was too blinded by love to see it. Too late, I realized I had fallen for someone who only stayed married to me until the payout looked big enough. Cancer didn't destroy me. Her betrayal did. The apartment I rented was a 150-square-foot unit off East 12th Street in Austin. $100 a week, cash only. My landlady, a kind 70-year-old woman named Mrs. Flores, gave me a look I'll never forget when I told her my situation. "You can stay as long as you need," she said softly. "Pay when you can. I've seen worse." That room, with its peeling yellow walls and noisy window AC unit, became my whole world. It smelled like bleach and old paper, but it was the only place I could still call home. That first night, lying on a creaky metal-framed bed, I opened my laptop one last time. My bank balance? 62 cents. 15 years of hard work. And I had 62 cents to show for it. My credit cards were maxed out. One card frozen, another flagged for non-payment. My tech bank card had less than $2 available. Then came the texts. "You have an outstanding mortgage debt of $7,200 on 12/10. Montrose BLVD, please respond immediately. Credit card ending in 7,654 is 45 days overdue. Total due, $3,590. This is a notice from Apex Collections. You are now in default and subject to legal action." That's when it hit me. Emily didn't just empty our savings. She'd used my signature to mortgage the house, take out loans, and leave me drowning in debt I never knew existed. My employer, in a move they called compassionate, placed me on unpaid leave to focus on recovery. The reality, a cancer diagnosis in the insurance industry, is a liability. They were quietly replacing me. My manager, Mark, called to reassure me. "Take all the time you need. David, your position will be here when you're ready." I knew better. Then came chemo. Nothing prepares you for that. The metallic taste, the bone-deep fatigue, the way your gums hurt when you drink water. My hair fell out in clumps. My face turned pale, sunken. I looked in the mirror and barely recognized the man staring back. I understood now why Emily left. She wasn't ready to love someone who looked like death. I called my parents in El Paso. "Are you okay, son? You sound weak," my mom asked. "I'm fine," I lied. "Just busy with work." "Emily's on a big project too, so we haven't called much." "Strange," she said. "She usually checks in. She'll call soon, probably by the end of the month." After I hung up, I cried, not because of the illness, not because of the money, because I'd never felt so utterly alone. Emily had vanished. My friends, slowly, they disappeared too. Derek, my closest colleague of 10 years, was the first to fade away. "Man, I heard. If you need anything," he'd said when I told him. But when I actually needed help, someone to take me to the clinic, someone to lend me $100 for medication, Derek was suddenly busy. Messages turned into scene. Then silence. Others followed. Hannah, Tom, even Claire, who once called me her big brother. They weren't bad people. They were just scared. Of illness, of debt, of messy truths. Only Mrs. Flores ever knocked on my door with a bowl of soup and said, "Eat something. You're too young to be this thin." At night, I'd lie in bed and listen to the rain on the metal roof. The passing cars on East 12th sounded like ghosts on the highway. That's when I realized I'd hit rock bottom. No wife, no home, no money, no friends, not even my health. But strangely, that was also the moment I became the clearest I'd ever been. I opened the bottom drawer of the rickety dresser I bought for $10 at a flea market. Tucked beneath an old flannel shirt was a black Toterbyte Western digital hard drive, sealed tight in a weatherproof case. The one thing Emily didn't know existed, the one thing that could save me. As a risk analyst, I'd always believed in contingency plans. In 2019, not long after our wedding, I started a private project I called Financial Armor. Every Sunday, for 2 hours, I updated that hard drive. It held everything. 5 years of joint banking transactions, property and insurance contracts, copies of every legal document we ever signed, all our email threads and text logs, a private folder labeled Relationship Risk Index, where I rated the trustworthiness of people in my life. Ironically, I gave Emily a 9/10. Her only red flag, a tendency to ask detailed questions about insurance payouts. I thought that meant she cared. She never knew I was a certified financial risk analyst and a member of the Texas Risk Professionals Association. She thought I was just a cautious husband with too many spreadsheets. But what she didn't know could now destroy her plan. I also had connections, 15 years of networking in finance and fraud prevention, 15 attorneys across multiple specialties, 8 forensic accountants, 12 private investigators, 6 auditors, over 20 bank officers at 10 different banks. My closest ally, Sarah Chen, our company's head auditor. The same woman who once uncovered a $90,000 embezzlement scheme and made our CFO resign overnight. "David," she once said, "you ever review your wife's transactions?" "Why would I?" I smiled. "She's just very detail-oriented." "Exactly, that's what worries me." Back then, I brushed it off. Now, her words haunted me. Over the past few months, Emily had changed. She'd asked about inheritance laws, about transferring assets. She started saying things like, "Why don't you trust me more? A marriage without transparency isn't real. Let me help manage the money." Each time she said that, I felt guilty. I shouldn't have, because when someone keeps telling you not to be cautious, it's often because they're preparing to do something you're not supposed to see. I should have seen it sooner. Now, sitting in this tiny apartment with nothing but my brain and a hard drive, I realized I had lost everything: my marriage, my home, my health. But I still had one thing: my mind. And Emily had made one fatal miscalculation. She thought I would die quietly. She was wrong. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The fan word loud in the quiet room. My fingers trembled as I opened the folder. /financial backup to 0192024. It was all there. Every transaction, every email, every file Emily thought I'd forgotten. And then I saw it. She hadn't drained our savings all at once. She'd bled me slowly, quietly. 52 withdrawals over 6 months, ranging from $2,400 to $4,800 each, all perfectly timed. March 18th, $3,800. I was in D.C. for a risk seminar. April 5th, $2,900. Client meetings all day. May 22nd, $4,200. I was visiting my parents in El Paso. June 8th, $4,600. Emily took me to a doctor's appointment, then asked me to nap while she went for groceries. She had mapped my calendar down to the hour. 8 a.m. I called Mike Tran, an old college friend turned attorney. His firm was on the 14th floor of a high-rise in downtown Houston. "Bring everything," he said. "If even half of what you're saying is true, this isn't just a marital dispute, it's criminal." On the cab ride over, I called Sarah Chen. "I've been waiting for this call," she said. "Those questions your wife asked me about inheritance laws, they weren't innocent. I need help," I told her. "Deep analysis, real patterns. Send me the raw data. I'll run it through the audit software." 10:30 a.m., Mike flipped through the first documents. Mortgage transfers, fake authorizations, hidden accounts. She committed financial fraud, he said flatly, and likely felony-level embezzlement. "But I signed the power of attorney," I said. "She had legal access." He shook his head. "Not for this. She exceeded the scope. You've got a case under Texas Penal Code, Section 32.45 misapplication of fiduciary property. That's a felony." 11 a.m., Sarah called back. "David, she has 3 other bank accounts you didn't know about," she said. "Opened under her maiden name Emily Tran. Transferred money in small chunks since 2022. How do you know? I have a friend in compliance at Truist Bank. They ran her social. She gave me the names. Truist, Liberty Bank, Cross River Federal. By 12:30 p.m., I was on the phone with Greg, a fraud investigator at Truist. We'd worked together back in 2023 on a case involving forged real estate loans. Funny you called, Greg said. We've been tracking a few suspicious loans tied to one of your wife's clients. Think she might have helped create fake borrowers. You have proof. I can get it, but I need everything you've got. I sent it all. By 2 p.m., Greg had linked her to 14 fake loans, totaling $18,000, funneled into her personal accounts. All forged, all illegal. She wasn't just stealing from me, she was stealing from the bank. At 4:45 p.m., Mike filed the complaint with the Harris County District Attorney's Office. Charges included misapplication of fiduciary property, fraudulent use of identifying information, wire fraud, real estate loan fraud, but at 5 p.m., I found something even worse. Buried in my email archive, an email from Emily sent to a real estate agent. My husband is dying from terminal cancer. I need to sell our house ASAP for cash. I'm the co-owner. He won't make it to the end of the year. She had already written me off, already planned a future that didn't include me. 6:20 p.m. I opened a software tool I had access to through a private investigator friend. It was a legal gray zone database used by licensed agencies for social media tracing and private communication mapping. Within minutes, I found it. Emily had a new boyfriend. Since May, his name, Jason Miller. Owner of a trendy downtown bar called Fairlight, divorced 2 kids. According to public records, he'd filed for bankruptcy 3 years ago. And the real kicker? Using message recovery tools, I unearthed messenger conversations between Emily and Jason. They'd been planning a new life together since June. You need to get out before it gets messy. Sell the house, pay the debts, I'll help you hide the rest. It wasn't just infidelity, it was collusion. Then came the final puzzle piece. Inside a folder labeled Medical Queries, I found browser history logs. On March 15th, 2 months before I was officially diagnosed, Emily had searched early signs of prostate cancer in men under 40. How long can someone live with stage 4 prostate cancer? She knew before I did. She'd seen the test results I had left on the counter, or maybe overheard my call with the doctor. She didn't panic, she planned. And now, so would I. Instead of some unbelievable story about inheritance from an uncle in Singapore, I crafted a believable trap, a forgotten insurance payout. Using my knowledge of insurance law, I drafted a fake email from Prudential's claims department stating, an inactive life insurance policy from 2019 was never canceled. Based on Clause 3.6, a refund of $85,000 is due to Mr. David Carter. Both spouses must sign for the I arranged a meeting at Tran & Associates, Mike's law firm. We set up discreet surveillance, hidden cameras, audio recorders, even a printer rigged to send copies to the local fraud unit. I sent Emily a message. We need to talk. There's an old insurance policy that might pay out $85,000. They need both of us to sign. I promise after this, we can part ways peacefully. She called 2 hours later. Voice calm, curious, a hint too eager. Where did this come from? You never told me about this policy. I don't even remember signing it, I said. Probably before we got married. But it's legit. I just want closure, for both of us. She agreed. Wednesday, 3 p.m., I arrived 30 minutes early, checked the microphones, aligned the Excel files I'd prepared, and reviewed the timeline of fraud. At exactly 3 p.m., she stepped out of the elevator, immaculate in a white designer suit. Red Christian Louboutin heels and a purse. The entire outfit could have paid 3 months of my medical bills. She smiled as she sat across from me. I'm sorry, she said, eyes glassy, voice soft. I never meant to hurt you. If I didn't know what I knew, I might have believed her. But I did. I opened my laptop, connected it to the 70-inch monitor, and projected the spreadsheet. Emily Tran. Financial activity. Summary 202 to 2024. March 15th, $3,800 withdrawal. April 5th, $2,900. May 22nd, $4,200. June 8th, $4,600. She tried to explain, I was saving for your treatment. I thought we'd need cash fast. I clicked to the next tab, her 3 secret bank accounts. Her face paled. "I just wanted security," she whispered. That's when she snapped. She dropped the act, sat up straight, smiled coldly. "You think I didn't see this coming? I've known for weeks you were tracking me. You forget. I work in finance too." Then she pulled out her own file, over 100 pages. "Here's a tax fraud report I filed against you. I have records showing you earned over $10,000 in under-the-table consulting fees between 2020 and 2023. You declared only 70% of that. That's felony tax evasion." She tapped the folder. "If I go down, so do you." For 10 seconds, my world tilted. Then I smiled, because she didn't know. I had filed an amended return in January 2024 and paid every cent in back taxes. Preemptively, quietly. Then I opened the next file. "Emily Tran has been terminated from Truist Bank effective 3 days ago," I read aloud. "Due to evidence of misappropriating $18,000 via fraudulent loan creation." Her face collapsed. "That's not true," she whispered. "They had no proof." "They didn't," I said, "until I gave it to them." Just then, the conference room door opened. Mike stepped in with 2 plainclothes detectives and a bank fraud investigator. "Emily Tran," one said, "you're under investigation for wire fraud, loan fraud, and misappropriation of fiduciary property." She tried to stand, but stumbled. "You planned all this," she gasped. "You set me up." "No," I said. "You did?" Emily was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison on charges of wire fraud, grand larceny, and misappropriation of funds. The judge ordered her to pay restitution, $48,000 to me, $18,000 to the bank, and to surrender all assets gained through illegal transactions. The house, our house on Montrose, was officially returned to my name. I sold it for $115,000, enough to clear my medical debts and move into a modest condo near Memorial Medical Center for easier access to treatment. Then came the call that changed everything. Dr. Anderson, the oncologist who'd first diagnosed me, called me into his office. "There's been a revision in your pathology report," he said, looking almost embarrassed. "The original staging was incorrect. Your tumor is stage 2, not stage 4. It's localized." I blinked. "What does that mean?" "It means your odds of full recovery are around 85% with continued treatment." I should have been thrilled, but all I felt was quiet, heavy sorrow. If we had known earlier, would Emily have stayed? Would we have worked things out? No, because she'd already made her decision long before cancer entered the picture. The diagnosis didn't change her. It just gave her a reason to accelerate her escape. Even Jason Miller, her boyfriend, wasn't spared. He was convicted of aiding in financial concealment and sentenced to 2 years probation. His bar lost its liquor license and shut down. Back in El Paso, my parents cried when I told them everything. Not from grief, but from relief. "My son didn't fall apart," my dad said. "He fought back. I'm proud of you." Friends, real ones, started coming back. Derek messaged me. "I'm sorry, man. I didn't know how to face you. I was ashamed. I should have been there, my old company." They invited me back with a promotion, Director of Risk Analysis. They said no simulation could match the real-world battle I'd survived. And me. I didn't hate Emily. I forgave her. Not because she deserved it, but because I deserved peace. These days, my life is quieter. I walk in the park near my new place. I read at the local library. I drink coffee alone and enjoy the silence. I've learned how to be at peace in my own company. Yesterday, I received a letter from Chisholm Federal Prison. From her, "David, I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't expect it. But I want you to know I regret not loving you properly. I wish I'd been braver." I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer, not out of bitterness, but because that chapter was over. Next week, I'm giving a talk at the University of Texas on personal finance and fraud prevention, not for money, but to help people like me see the red flags I missed. I'm calling the talk "From Crisis to Clarity." Maybe one day I'll write a book, not about revenge, but about resilience. Tonight, I'm calling my parents. I'm going to visit them this weekend. I'll cook Mom her favorite catfish stew. I'll sit beside Dad and watch the evening news, because that is happiness. Simple, honest, undeniable. Sometimes, to find the right person, you have to become the right version of yourself first, and I'm finally on that path.